Water is essential to everyone, and water quality is about what's in your water and how it affects your land, livestock, family, and community. It includes things you can see, like sediment and color, and things you can't see, like bacteria, chemicals, and nutrients. Good water quality means the water is safe to use, whether you're giving it to livestock, irrigating your fields, or using it at home. Poor water quality can cause livestock illness, reduce crop yields, harm soil health, and even affect your household's drinking water. The quality and amount of water you have can directly affect your yields, your herd, and your bottom line. Beyond the farm gate, water also supports natural areas like streams and wetlands, which help protect soil, reduce flooding, and support wildlife. This documentary highlights the stories of farmers and programs in Kentucky that offer help to protect and improve water quality. It includes contacts, services, and links you can use right away. It includes federal and state programs that can assist farmers along with clear, easy-to-use informational articles. Limited resource farmers continue to meet significant challenges, including limited access to loans, credit, markets, and more. If these farmers are going to survive and improve water quality, they must have access to the technical assistance, financial resources, and long-term support needed to adopt and maintain conservation practices.
I live on a creek, and when I bought the farm 40 years ago, they said it had only flooded once, and the whole time he'd lived there for 80, 75 years. And it flooded 3 times this spring. It went 80 feet wide. My creek, I can walk under the bridge over the creek. It went over the bridge, left a ton of debris and logs, and went 85 feet wide and took out half of my driveway and brought everybody else's driveway down to underneath my bridge and clogged it up. And my solution is just there's nothing. I tried planting bamboo 35 years ago, and that's the worst mistake I ever made because it does hold the stuff back, and now it's spread enormously. I think that my neighbors they put in a subdivision above my house, cleared about 300 acres of woods, and now I flood all the time, and there's nothing I can do about it. A guy on our farmer's market got a new hoop house and did raised beds for his 3,000 tomato plants, and we got so much rain in a short period of time, he had to bring in pumps because Maria's standing on the raised beds, and the water's halfway up her boots, trying to pump out. He lost about 1,000 tomato plants because of the flood, and he says, well, my only solution is planting a different place.
And during the process, just like how you guys acted, you were saying other things, people got emotional about it. I mean, it's the story of the black farmer in America is a complicated story. And even though I tried to stick with the research questions, all the farmers we was trying to talk about water quality, but the African American farmers started talking about racial inequality. I don't care what I try to do, the conversation went to racial inequality.
Farmers in their communities face inequities in accessing water quality. These are rooted in historical discrimination, underfunded local services, barriers to federal and state programs, and ongoing policy gaps in how environmental and agricultural support is distributed. These inequities intensify health risks, economic vulnerability, and environmental burdens for these farmers.
Well, if you look at worldwide, and then you have to ask yourself, how many black farmers is still farming? It's just like, this is what happens to most of the black farmers. If we had got the resources, a lot of the black farmers would still be farming.
Actually, we're the only blacks that's farming in our area, so we didn't want to look like we stuck out like sore thumbs. So we went in putting up plank fences, new woven wire fences and things like that. And to keep the cattle out of the sinkholes, we put rock into the sinkholes, not crushed stone rock from the rock quarry. And that keeps the cows out and helps the water, because we do have flooding in our area at times. And in order to not fence off every sinkhole, we just put rock in there and that lets the cattle walk over top of it, and that helps a whole lot.
How did you determine that was going to be your strategy?
Oh, through NRCS. They came out and assessed things for us, and just like they kind of told us what we need to do, how to do it, and we had a program, and they went through a water plan situation with us also.
When you look at your farm, some people spend what they have to make a living, and some people try to stretch it and have more loans. But when you look at a black farm, you'll tend to see less weed eating around the fences, less care of the fences than the white farmer, who really is more interested in, oh, don't you think my farm looks beautiful, rather than this farm is my income. And I don't have to make it pretty. I can just make it suffice for what I need. That's also the case in many of the tenant farmers. They just don't have the money to make it fun, to make it pretty. So they let it go, as they don't weed eat around it, and they don't do all this other stuff, which takes time and money, but especially time, just to make it look pretty.
In Kentucky, there are many places farmers can turn for help. USDA and NRCS offices, cooperative extension, research labs, and water quality specialists. In this documentary, you'll hear from local people who work side by side with farmers, helping them find solutions that fit their land and their operations.
When I worked at KSU, my goal was to help farmers to be better farmers, improve their income, and improve their family living and their quality of life. To do that, we set up meetings in many counties. We developed the Third Thursday educational program where farmers could come, and county agents every month, for updates into new activities. We started this conference so that farmers in West Kentucky could meet farmers from East Kentucky, and several of the farmers, particularly the African American farmers, did not know that African American farmers were beyond Louisville. However, most of our farmers are west of Louisville. So we tried to put the people together that needed to know each other.
How do black farmers get out of this?
I think first they need to look at their farm's assets and the assets of their community. For example, do they have to use city water or purchased water, or is there water for their crops available either in a farm pond or on the creek next to them? Need to say, how much money can I spend on water? And then you think about the water quality, but really a lot of times it's just water in general that you need for your crop. Livestock, they might need a little cleaner water, but the main thing is water is extremely important, because if they don't have anything to drink, you're not going to have any animals, you're not going to have any plants. And if everything depends on city water or purchased water, the smaller farmers can't afford it.
So we're focused on water quality on small farms, and you probably see a lot of things we would never see. What are some of the trends or noticeable problems that you've observed in terms of water resources on farms, whether it's streams or ponds or wells? What are some of the things that you see that small farmers are challenged by?
I've kind of seen a lot of different practices, across the state for water quality. A lot of, small farmers, the ponds might not be fenced off, for livestock, not to contaminate it. And then you have some, there have been it's a practice that's needed, ongoing, to encourage small farmers, the importance of good water quality.
What do you think are the barriers to getting that information to small farmers?
Well, we try to do outreach, have meetings, and give that information. Some of the barriers is, some folk will say funding, and then, for instance, we might explain that, you can go work with this agency. It might be a USDA agency, or it might be a county agency, which I found is confusing for farmers, because a lot of times when farmers talk, and one farmer said, well, I got my fence, but they don't say what agency. So it could be at the county level, or it could be at the federal level, with a federal agency. So that's been one of the things that I tell farmers, that if you receive a service and you're trying to tell somebody, make sure that you know what agency you dealt with.
What would you say have been the best success stories in terms of farmers addressing the water on their property? Or give us an example of a success story.
Well, I guess helping some of the farmers fill out the water quality plan. I guess those have been the great successes, or even when after someone has adopted a practice like a limited access for drinking, for livestock. If somebody gets a practice installed, that's something that's been rewarding, to see. For instance, some people have gotten the city water even, installed, which is, clean water, whether it be for livestock or even crops. But, so those are some of the things.
But then city water is expensive, right? So that factors in a different kind of demand on farmer resources.
Exactly.
Okay, my name is William Thomas. I'm a native of Fayette County, and I attended Kentucky State University and earned a degree in education. And I attended the University of Kentucky and earned a degree in civil engineering. And I also taught here at Kentucky State for about a year and a half in the industrial arts department. I taught drafting. And after I finished my obligations to the engineering company, I got a job with the federal government working for NRCS. And I was an engineer for NRCS for about 45 years. And I worked in about 89 of the 120 counties in Kentucky as an engineer for NRCS. We noticed that there was a big need for water in Kentucky for the livestock. And in filling that need, we encourage the farmers to fence off the ponds that we cost shared with them in building. And usually the ponds that we work with the farmer to build, we put a pipeline and tank below the pond and fence the pond off so the cattle could not get in it. And we went downstream and installed a concrete tank and piped the water from the pond to the tank, and the cows could drink out of the tank. That worked real well.
Now, in a cost share program, that means the farmer has to come up with a percent of the expense, correct?
Well, different programs have different requirements. Some of the programs, the amount that the farmer comes up with varies, and they have a number of programs, and those programs are usually administered by the person in the office that has their training in the field of agriculture. My field was engineering, so I was in the part of the program that helped to design and install the practices. Before those practices were installed or designed, the district conservationist and the conservation person in the office and the technician in the office would explain to the farmer the requirements of the program.
Dr. Dasgupta, what resources or services does Kentucky State University offer to small farmers to help them manage their water resources on their farms?
Well, we have 4 water quality microbial testing labs around the state, and those labs really are looking into the kind of microbes that may be in the water that may be good or bad, so they can do that. Dr. Antonius, George Antonius, has a lab at the Atwood building at Kentucky State University, and he has the ability to test for heavy metals that might be in the water. And then at our Aquaculture Research Center, we do have a water quality lab, but that is more geared towards testing for things like the amount of nitrates and the amount of calcium and amount of oxygen and things like that that may be in a water sample. And if people eat those vegetables in an unwashed manner, there is a potential of sickness to be going.
Farmers share why water quality management matters to them and what it truly takes to protect water on their farms. They spoke candidly about the challenges they faced and the practices they put in place to address them. By listening to their experiences, we begin to see what's working, what's not, and how we can close the gaps to support farmers.
If you don't have the resources, you cannot run a farm, period. You can't run one. There's no way that you can run one and make a living on it, okay? When you can go to the bank, and the bank, right, you have to have some type of collateral every time you go to the bank to get resources. You're not gonna last very long, okay? Because they know how much money, okay, that they can actually give you, okay, or loan you that you can pay back. Now, you know that you can pay it back, but getting the money.
So how important is water to your farm?
It's very important. One, I don't have a stream on my farm. I have a lot of ponds, but they're dry. And what they did, right, when they came out and put my water fountains in, what they did, they fenced the water ponds off, okay? So the animals would not get in the pond and contaminate the water, okay? So they put a fence around it.
My name is Lonzo Ballou, and I'm with Ballou Farms in Richmond, Kentucky.
And how long have y'all been farming?
I am actually 3rd generation. My grandfather started about the first farm back in the early 30s.
And so how many waterways are on your farm?
We've got 2 waterways that lead to the Kentucky River on our farm, backside of both tracks.
How have you kept the waterways clean? What have you done?
We have to continuously monitor these streams because trees will fall and other debris will wash down into these streams. So we have to continuously monitor and clean those streams physically by hand. And a lot of it's done that way because access with equipment is really hard to get to some of those areas in those streams.
To give you a little big background on where our farm is located at, we are located in the Todd County area, which is in the mid-southern, right on the Tennessee line. But the little area that town is close to is called Guthrie, Kentucky. Well, Todd County is got 2 type of terrain, and one area we live in is in what we call a limestone area. So yes, we depends on the water, and most of the time we was on well water when we had for the family farm. But we also got these things considered sinkholes that's located in karst areas.
So what is a sinkhole?
A sinkhole is a depressing area that actually feeds the underground water, rivers I call them, or tributaries. And they'll fall in what they call the karst areas that's there. And we have to have some of them that we have established that are located on our farm. And so we're really concerned about subsurface water entering into our groundwater safely. So back in the old days, they used to say, oh, let's take the sinkhole, let's throw all our garbage, our dumps, and the whole works. After getting more educated about the situation and how it could pollute our groundwater, that's something we stopped.
Is farming difficult?
It is. It's a very difficult task. Not only just labor-wise, but sometimes the headache of the cost that's going into it, on the return of what you're getting out of it. A lot of people don't see the money side of farming.
When I walk into that office, that NRCS office or that FSA office, or I speak to any of you, I can look in your face before you even answer the question about resources, whether or not I'm going to get any resources from you. Because we are not accessing the resources that we have for each other. We are standing in our own way. Because if African Americans in the state of Kentucky are 15% of the population, if you've got change for $1, well, give them the 15%, and you keep the what? If it's $1 and you take 15 cents out of it, what do you have left? Give them the 15%, and you still are the majority. You still have most of the resources.
The water source here, we have automatic waterers, and it's come from the city. In the wintertime, they go down below 30 below zero. They won't freeze, and so the automatic waterers, and they just regular fresh water that's come from the city and from the county, and just make sure that they have plenty of water. Now there is a stream of water through here that comes through this way. After it rains and things like that, we have regular water. And there's a well over on this property here down on the other side by the well there. It's a fresh spring water there.
With support from the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture and a grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, a resource guide for water quality assistance for Kentucky farmers was created in 2025. It brings together practical information to help farmers find programs, people, and tools that can make protecting water quality easier for their farms and communities.
I've always told a small farmer if I'm working with, that not only with me, but they should have a working relationship with their local, know who their local agriculture agent is in their respective county. So it's very important that they know who their local agriculture agent is. And that way, we work together to try to help the small farmer.
I remember you years ago when you was just a teenager. And so now you have a job with what? The NRCS?
I work for the United States Department of Agriculture, Natural Resource Conservation Service.
So what do you do with that?
I am a soil conservation technician. I do a lot of the surveying. I'm usually the first person you see when we meet farmers. I do our farm visits, get out with the farmers and see what kind of resource concerns that they have, and we get our heads together and try to come to a compromise on how we can fix those things.